looking so green and rainy, overcast gray, which reminded me about Vancouver, because Vancouver is rainy, overcast, which then reminded me about Vancouver downtown, English Bay Beach, and comparing that with here Munich. We don't have ocean nearby, but we have a beautiful river and the lakes, which got me into thinking whether I'm gonna redo my undergraduate computer science degree in Canada, or would I do it differently, either in Germany or Netherlands or Denmark or whatsoever. That is going to be what I'm talking about in this video, because I have been a software engineer, especially working on working on cloud DevOps, which is one of the hottest field in software engineering industries, more than software development here in Munich, Germany. But prior to here, moving to here in Munich, which is called second Silicon Valley, I worked in Canada, West Coast, East Coast, and also West Coast, Seattle, Microsoft. So I can give you guys what I think about, education, computer science degree. Should I do it? Would I do it in Germany or Netherlands for maybe 1/10 of the cost of Canadian education costs? I paid at least $20,000 a year for education tuition alone. So by the time I graduated from a Canadian university with computer science degree as an international student, which means I pay 3 to 4 times more than Canadian local tuition fees, I graduated with 50-60K student loan debt, which isn't too bad compared to just American scenario, which would have been 100K, 150K, or something like that. It's astronomical. Whereas here, I can give you a little information. Here in Munich, let's say you do undergraduate, it's free, even if you're an international student. So you don't need to pay except the rent and a house and food, stuff like that. And was in Amsterdam or like Netherlands, it is not free, but it is pretty minimal, like trivial amount of cost, about 2,000 euros a year. So 2,000-3,000 a year to pay for university. By the time you graduate from university with a computer science degree, you would have had 6, 7, 8, 9K worth of a student loan debt, which you can easily pay off in a year, right? So for me to get to the starting point, meaning like a zero student loan debt, to recover back from student loan to zero, if I went to Canadian university, to pay off, meaning to pay off 60K, minimum 60K, plus additional 40-50K for a living expense, it took me 2.5 years of working and saving every single dollar that I earned from work to pay them back. So 2-3 years, you're gonna be working to just pay back student loan. And that is the best case, alright? Most people don't have a chance to save so much money, net income every single month. So I was lucky. I did my personal finance, so I set up my lifestyle so that I can save a lot of money. Like for example, saving a lot of money for rent, food. I didn't eat out much, and I was very living frugally. And on the side, I used some money for like a camera gig, vacation and stuff like that. But generally, I wasn't living extravagantly. And it took me 2.5 years to pay back everything. Compare that to the scenario where I went to university here in Germany or Netherlands. I would have accumulated $6,000 to $8,000 student loan debt, which is nothing. And you start living and working after university, you can definitely pay back $10,000 in 1 year or so, right? 1 year, you can definitely pay back, or maybe 1.5 years. That's a stretch. So I know that initial university graduate students salary in, let's say, Munich would be 50k or 55,000 euros a year. In Netherlands, you're gonna get about the same amount of net income after tax, because tax here is more expensive. But so they pay you much more in Munich, but with higher tax. So net income would have been probably the same if you were working in either Amsterdam or Munich, and you could have paid back your entire student loan in a year or at the latest 1.5. So that's what I'm thinking, 1.5. So that means that 60k for Canadian university education is a best case. It's the best case where you went to you go to one of the most reasonable university, which I went, which is Simon Fraser University. But UBC or University of Toronto, that's gonna be like double, at least double, because they charge you $45,000 a year. So times 4 is 200,000. It's like astronomical. Nobody wanna do that. Like, it doesn't make financial sense to pay $45,000 a year, because you could have got the pretty similar education in less than half the price. So if you go to UBC in Toronto, and then you're gonna be ending up 150k student loan, which I don't know how long it's gonna take to pay back. Maybe 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It's like forever. Whereas here, you start pretty clean slate. So you only need to pay back maximum 10,000, right? So you can pay back in like a year and a year and a half, even if maybe starting salary here might be a little lower. But good thing is you don't start with a student loan debt, so you don't waste 2, 3, 4 years worth of working time just to pay back student loan, which gives you the ability to save much more money faster. And that's a kind of a logic, that kind of a thinking process that's going on in my mind that I wanted to share with you guys in this video. And so money cost is pretty important when it comes to lifestyle designing. Like, you can't just think about, university without thinking about cost and how to pay back, and what kind of a compound effect that's gonna have later in your life. Because if you go to American university, a lot of Americans would end up struggling with paying back student loans for 10 years, 15 years. And that shouldn't be the norm. That shouldn't be your life. You want to move on as soon as possible from paying back student loan. You want to live your life. You're not paying for something that you want to do, vacations, cameras, stuff like that. So that is quite important. You want to be independent as soon as possible, so that you can travel, you can live in new cities without much, obligations to always having to pay back student loan for 10 years, 15 years. That thing sits on your shoulder like big, gigantic, gray, thick-ass cloud, You don't want that. So that's one thing. So in terms of like a student cost, education cost / income, expected income, I would say here would have been probably better. The question is though, you can't probably learn computer science undergraduate in English in Germany. You can in Netherlands, or you can in probably Norway and Sweden. So probably Sweden, Norway, Netherlands might be better option. And you could do internships here as well. You get paid cheap ass hourly wage, so let's say 5 euros, 6 euros per hour. You might complain, but you could have earned like 60k at Microsoft, 6,700 like I did. But here you start low as an internship because you pay nothing for education. So that's like a pros and cons, and I just wanted to tell you about my perspective. Since I spent like first 2.5 years basically saving money to just pay back student loan, to just get to the starting point, like to get to the clean slate situation, I feel like what if I started here, And I don't think my verdict is I don't think it's that bad. You can have a lot of internship opportunities here, even if they pay you like $5. That shouldn't be an issue for you because you don't pay nothing for education. Anyways, that's about it. Hope you got some insights from my experience. I would have totally redone my university education in Germany or Netherlands or Sweden or Norway in English. That would have been better for me. Alright?